All right, if you're just joining us, good morning. You're not too late because this is the toppest hour of this particular show. When I say toppest, I mean it. Because we're here with the experts and we want to talk about this particular issue in detail. And this issue today is about the mental health in our children, in our 0 to 19-year-old children, the psychosocial support that we give them in schools, at home. And with this COVID-19 pandemic, what are we doing to ensure that our teenagers are not just quiet and suffering, but are healthy, happy, and open to have conversations with us? I have two psychologists on set or standing by to talk to us, but I just want to bring in some bit of research that I had before I came here. And they say psychosocial rather refers to the child's inner world and relationship with his or her environment. I don't know what you guys were thinking back at home, but it's that deep. And psychosocial support, therefore, helps maintain a continuum of family and community-based care and support during and after an emergency, and prevents immediate or long-term mental health disorders. That's why I felt this is very important to discuss. And even if we can tell you what psychosocial support is in Kiswahili, we will do that. Kwa wale ambao hawaelewi lugha yetu ya imetoka uko Marekani, all right? We will also explain in Swahili, so I know my experts are listening. So where we need to speak in Swahili, we shall do. All right, and social support rather involves a range of care and support interventions. So which one are you doing? I won't give you the interventions, but I know my experts are already with me on telling you the symptoms, the signs, the interventions, the treatment, and the prevention as we speak this morning, all right? So good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Joining us via Zoom is my very loyal, can I call him loyal? He's always been there for the show. He's a psychologist, Kagondu Jr. Good morning. How are you today?
Good morning. Happy to see you. I'm doing well. It's a bit chilly, but we're keeping on well.
Is it chilly where you are?
Oh, yeah, it's very chilly.
It's warm here. John can attest that it is. John, is it not warm in studio?
Very much warm. Very much warm.
So, John, you're gonna have to use your microphone because we didn't have a lapel for him, but we have a microphone. So we're trying to tell Kagondu that it's warm in studio.
Very warm, Kagondu. You should join us, actually.
I think that's the reason why I should be there.
Yes, yes, because
absolutely.
Because when we're talking about mental health issues and you're back at home, we want to advocate for your presence in studio next time.
Yes.
So today we're talking about karibuni sana. We're talking about mental health and psychosocial support in schools. A lot of S's for me. But I'm going to start with, of course, John right here. And we just want to break it down for you. What is psychosocial support? Before we even talk about mental health, because I think Kagondu will give us a mental health breakdown, but please let us know about the psychosocial support. Yeah.
Thank you, Dorice, for having me this morning. It's quite a great show.
Thank you.
These are the issues that we actually facing, especially for our young ones in school. And psychosocial support is very important. It's a wholesome mind support, especially for our teenagers who are going through the study in school. And it is important to know exactly what they are going through. Our young ones usually go through a lot of issues, and sometimes as parents, as teachers, sometimes you can assume things are okay, but literally things are not okay. And what I usually like telling teachers and parents is that not unless you become friends with teenagers, they might not be in a position to have the courage to open up and to discuss what they are going through. So what I usually encourage most of the time, psychosocial support is very important. Let's, as far as these teenagers, they are in school, they are going through study, it's always good to create some moment and get to understand what is there in their mind, so that now we can give a lot of support. Mostly you find psychosocial issues and element, they really affect the study, as far as our teenagers are concerned while they're in school. And most importantly, it's an issue that you need to address first before you even go through the academics. So I think it is important we engage our teenagers as much as possible, so that exactly we can know what they are going through.
I like what John has said about making the teenager or the young person your friend, and now the academics that you've mentioned over and over again. And Kagondu, as you're listening, he's saying it's about that time where parents and the community and teachers all coming together to offer that psychosocial support. But I feel like there's a great connection right now with the COVID-19, giving this support and mental health issues. Kagondu, do you have any statistics on the mental health status quo for the adolescents in this particular era and with this COVID-19 pandemic? Is there a rise? What really is mental health, and what is the situation like in the country, so we can relate it to the psychosocial support?
Yes, thank you so much, Dorice. And I like what my colleague has just shared. You know, the importance of making these teenagers our friends, so that at least we're able to understand what is happening with them. And the most unfortunate thing is that we don't have good rapport, or even in such a way that we'll be able to interact and assess, you know, how they are faring on. But like we have always said that, you know, mental health, this is one of the very, very important things that we need to address, and especially during this particular time when we are dealing with the COVID-19. Like I had said earlier, you know, with the adults, with the senior members of the society, they're able to express themselves. And whenever they feel like they have an issue, most of them, though not all, they seek support. They'll go to the hospitals, they'll come to our offices, into those therapy rooms, you know, seeking guidance and support for the issues that they are facing. Unlike the young people who depend on these adults, okay? The most unfortunate thing is that with the teenagers, with the adolescents, they get into this particular stage as children, and they come out of it as adults. So there's a lot of mixture in terms of how they conduct themselves, how they relate with one another, or even what they are going through. Remember, when we talk about the parents, the adults experiencing a lot of challenges, talk about the financial constraints, or even in terms of the marital status and all that, we have seen so many videos. You have covered this in your news, where we're having so many domestic issues, you know, domestic violence, parents fighting one another, and these young people are equally affected. So that tells you, as much as they may not really express themselves, as much as they may not talk about what they're going through, they're observing and they're affected in one way or the other. The World Health Organization had looked at the numbers, and I remember we had shared earlier on the statistics talking about that mental health related conditions would be the leading cause of death among the young people by the year 2020, and today we're in the year 2021, and true to their word, true to their statistics, true to their studies, we have seen what has been happening. Every other day we having news of violence, you know, people killing one another. We're having young children, you know, being affected in so many ways. And before they closed school, you know, from the previous term, there was a lot of incidents of violences, and that tells you this is a very wanting issue that we need to address. And that's why we want to say that it's very timely, because we have them at home, and we need to understand what is happening with them. So with the mental health, we look at, you know, getting to lose one person every other 40 seconds and translating that into close to 800,000 people, you know, around the year, you know, getting to lose this. This is quite a big number. This is a large number. One life is too many. Yes.
Well, that the statistics don't look very good, Daktari. Allow me to call you Daktari through this particular interview. And thank you so much, Kagondu, for that, you know, breakdown. And as we're talking, and we are all seeing, and we've heard the statistics even from, you know, our psychologists, there are still people and communities and certain families that have believed or still believe that the certain myths that surround mental health. I don't know if you'd want to touch on certain myths that surround mental health and things that when people come to you, they brush. You know, when you feel like a teenager has a problem, but a parent is like, yo tuko kwa damu yetu. Are there certain myths surrounding mental health so that people watching today know that it's not really a joke, that their kids are really suffering? Yeah, what are these myths that surround mental health? Can we just list them down today and enjoy the reality?
Thank you, Dorice. I remember there was a time I had a teenage young man, was around 16 years, and actually he came to me with issues of masturbation, and he actually shied off to discuss masturbation with parents, and he felt comfortable to come and seek help from where I work. And That time I remember after engagement for some time, he came and told me that the dad always tells him that he needs to be man enough, not to be strong enough to face issues as they come, without necessarily not being bothered by what is around, not being bothered with the issues of life, and try as much as possible to be strong. And I'm trying to give you like that example because I'm trying to show you that the environment we usually give our young one when they come to seek help, that you tend to assume as a parent that the best coaching you are coaching your teenage is to tell them that you need to be strong enough, you need to be man enough, so that you can be in a position to face life. And being man enough does not necessarily solve some of these psychological problems. You need to create that avenue and element so that now this person or this young one can come and be in a position to discuss what is ailing them psychologically so that we can work together with them. Other mates, you find that sometimes you find after, for example, in other community, after class 8, there is the rituals of circumcision. And from that circumcision, you see now you most of the teenage guys, they are told now you are man enough. Now you can go out and face the life, and each and every time you go through a problems, you are supposed to face that problem head on.
And don't cry.
And don't cry. And don't you see all those aspects. And you see there is nothing wrong with crying. Crying, for example, is a therapy. You need to cry for you to come into terms with what is going on. So I think those are some of the many examples that can be there in terms of different communities as far as how we impose our values and our made to our children. And mostly they cause a lot of problems because what they do is that they block our children from opening up and discussing their problem. You see, initially you have told this young child that you need to be strong enough to face this problem. And the moment this teenage feels that there is a problem that is ailing me, at one given time, they might not be very much comfortable to go and face daddy and tell daddy, you see, this is what exactly is happening. Because already you've created a sense of now you need to be strong enough, you need to give yourself strength, you need to walk in this, you need to face this. And mostly that's where most of the parents usually miss the point of letting know that each and every problem, irrespective of a teenage, as what my colleague has said, that for us parents, we usually go to seek for help. But now these teenagers, sometimes they walk in darkness of issues and anxiety they go through in their subconscious, and they can't be in a position to know where exactly am I going to air out what I'm going through. And that's why you see, just like what Daktari has released, the statistics of even issues that are happening. Like, for example, the last year we had a lot of issues. After the opening of schools, you'd find cases of conflict all over. Teachers are fighting with the children, and again, children are fighting with the other children. And mostly it becomes a very national concern of now what is happening. And probably from my feeling, maybe these are some of the issues that these teenagers are going through, and they don't have a right platform to wear them out or to wear them out and to discuss and to see the way forward. So I think those are part of the just example of some of the myths that can be there,
and some causes
and
as
the
well.
Consequences of those myths, like what I've explained, that you deny this teenager an opportunity to discuss and to say exactly what is happening, what they are going through.
And I'm so glad that you have mentioned that mostly it's the men who are told be strong, be strong. You know, I've not heard him talk about women. Girls being told, oh, run and get married to a rich man. Because that also does stress the girls. Kagondu, am I not saying the truth? Where is the lie? No one is saying girls are told you have to have long hair.
I'm telling you, and like my colleague is saying, there's a lot of stereotyping and misconception about mental health related conditions. And when you look at this from the cultural aspect, there's a way that men are told to carry themselves, to conduct themselves, okay? Like I have always shared that there's a time I had gone to a certain church, and when the children were through with their Sunday school, you know, they want to come back and peep at the church to see what their parents are doing. And, you know, when you have those people's warden, you know, conducting, maintaining order in church, when they find boys, they are so harsh on them.
Okay.
But when they see the girls, they are so tender. They're like, mami, songa tu kidogo. But for the boys, wewe unafanya nini hapa? And
Even in
there's
church.
a lot of.
This example is in church.
Yes, in the church. Okay, and this is where we have it wrong. And when you talk about myths and misconceptions surrounding mental health, it's a key indicator that we don't have enough information regarding mental health or even how to conduct ourselves. And that tells you most of the people, because they don't have enough information about mental health. You hear some talking about, huyo amerogwa, probably some spirits have befallen them, they are cursed, and they fear, seeking support, going out there to seek some support, okay? Because for them, it will be like, this is a curse, and they don't know how to address that. So that tells you that with the myth and misconceptions surrounding mental health, it does lead to a lot of stigma surrounding this particular topic, and hence the fear to go out there to seek support. So whenever you talk about the boy child, the girl child, I think we are a bit harsh, towards the boy, and yet we want them to be so tender towards us, yet we harden them when they were growing up. And when they get into those adult life, into their adult life, adult stage, they become so harsh, they are so hard towards their female counterparts, and we're asking where this is coming from. We should work on it from the time that they are so tender. And I just love it when my colleague is saying that even crying is not bad. It's okay to allow them to express their feelings, how they feel, their emotions, so that at least whenever they get into marriage, they'll be able to understand how their wives and their female counterparts are going through.
Kagondu, allow me to clap, but even as I clap, I think the next time we bring in a female psychologist, I hope my team is listening. So we have already talked about the causes, the myths, the current situation, the status quo, even with the pandemic, the statistics. But there's a parent who's saying, my child does not talk. Even if I push them, you guys are saying, they're totally introverted, John. And I'm thinking, what are these signs? What signs can a parent look out for to just know your child is going through certain mental health disorders or distress through this time, whatever age? Because I'm sure there's a way toddlers behave. We will not lock out toddlers. Yes. There's a way the teenager will behave. So if you can break it down for us, so just they can look out for the signs, and then we'll give them the prevention mechanisms and the interventions. Yes. So right now, just the signs.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good question. Dorice, mostly what we normally encourage is that by the time you give birth to your child to a certain level, as a parent, you have understood very well these child behaviors and even the mode of interaction and how he is. And that makes you now easier to know if by any chance there is a problem that comes in, you can be in a position to see, no, this is not my son, this is not my daughter. Mostly you find that when teenagers, they are going through difficult issues or they are going through something, there is that aspect of isolation. You find they usually isolate themselves. This was somebody who would come and watch TV together with you. Most of the time he's spending much time in their room, or even if they are not in their room, probably they are spending much time away from where you are. Secondly, mostly you find that each and every time you come to talk to them in anything, they might not be very responsive in terms of understanding what you are saying. And sometimes you even look at them non-verbally. You can clearly see that they have that front face. In terms of communication, you see now this is not face of my son. And that's why I've said at the beginning, you know very well how your child is, and you have understood how your child is usually in a normal circumstances. So it becomes very easy for you to know exactly when the problem is coming in. Mostly you find sometimes they can even get so rude.
Okay.
Sometimes you find as parents, the moment our children get rude, we usually assume maybe it's a behavior that they have learned, and maybe you out of your company you started. We have a lot of accusations we normally impose to them. But most importantly, probably this young teenage is going through a certain problem. And the way they air it out is as a form of being rude. You ask them something, they can tell you can go and look for yourself. And mostly, you should not be so quick now in terms of what are you telling me. It's always good to pause down, to pause back and understand exactly why is it that this teenager is actually expressing such to me. So that out of that content, you can be in a position to pick what could be the problem that this teenage is going through. Mostly you find even their social life. Maybe your teenage is a social person. Maybe they meet with neighbors, they come, they play football in your compound, and they have a lot of social life. But of late, you start noticing, wait a minute, this young teenage is, or this young toddler is spending much of the time alone. That one now you should take up. You should be in a position to know there is a problem that is going through. Even aspect of being tidy. So sometimes probably you know very well your teenage is very tidy person.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you start noticing that the self-care has compromised the whole thing. It's not actually like how it used to be, especially for the young girls, teenage. You find that care is not actually there. So there are so many presentations that you'll be in a position to see, and you know this is not my usual child that I already know. And that's why I've started by saying, for you as a parent, you can actually be in a position to know exactly what is happening, because you start seeing some very new presentation your child is going through, and that presentation will be in a position to tell you that, wait a minute, there is a problem here.
Nice.
And out of that problem, there is a right way of approaching. And that's why I've said at the beginning that it's always good for us to be friends with our teenagers, because that's where now you can hold this teenage, you can take a brisk walk, and you ask exactly what is happening. I've noticed you are A, B, C, D. Is there a problem that I can assist you as your mom? Is there a problem I can assist you as your dad? Is there a problem I can assist you as a guardian? And from there, definitely you can be in a position to arrive in a ground, and you can know exactly what is happening.
Thank you very much, John, for that, for giving us the signs and what to look out for. And what he has said that is very important is, number one, know your child. There is no way they're your child unless you know them, and there's no way you'll know their signs unless you know them. So be friends and know the signs. Kagondu, you have followed that, and I'm glad that we've been given all those details. And I know that if we do not deal with this, there are extreme ripple effects, trickle effects, including suicide. We don't want to get there. So what are the interventions now that maybe somebody's child is really going through something, and as a parent, they're probably scared. They probably think coming out for help is expensive. What would you tell parents who are already dealing with distressed kids, maybe due to COVID, adolescents who are going crazy? What can they do? As a psychologist, what would you tell them this morning?
Okay. Before I get there, I just want to weigh in just a little bit on the science. Yeah, and I love the way my colleagues, my colleague has just shared. You know, looking at the tidiness and all that. When you look at the young people, they start developmental stage. You know, the milestones that they need to achieve in certain stages as they grow up, as they mature up. And in most cases, there's one thing that we need to be keen, and especially with the young teenagers, more so the adolescents. We expect them not to bedwet, you know, at a certain stage, at a certain level of maturity. Probably in their class 8, they are getting into Form 1, and they're still bedwetting. Or maybe they had stopped and they have now begun, you know, bedwetting. And this is a big concern, and especially where parents, most of them, they'll be like, you know, well, mtoto umekuwa mtukutu, you're not even, you have indiscipline issues, and you don't know how to take care of yourself. So they end up, you know, compromising the situation rather than getting to look at what is the lead cause, okay? So it's very important whenever you see some of these changes probably drain back into some stages that you had, they had already surpassed, and they're going back to that. It's good that you be keen on that. Now into the question on suicide, you know, and the interventions, how to go about that. With the current pandemic, we don't have the exact numbers like we had asked with the statistics, but once we are able to compile, we'll be able to know the real impact of this particular pandemic. But like you're saying, there's a lot of distress that is happening, and we see most of the young people even going to an extent of even committing suicide. Why? Because they want to run away from the pain, from the challenges that they are facing. Others, they want to punish their parents because they're able to see, you know, I'm not in good terms with my parents, so the best way to punish them, it would be probably committing suicide. And for us to ensure that we don't get there, you know, it's good that we get to know, you know, what should we do as parents. And what we are doing today is one of the first steps, because in most cases, we find that many parents, they don't have enough information about mental health. And this is why my colleague is uttering this and again, you know, repeating this particular phrase. be friends with your teenager, be friends with the adolescent. And that tells you that we need to have that awareness. We need to understand what is happening within us. Secondly, we parents need to also look at, how they should also work on themselves, because most of them, as much as they are complaining about their children, they themselves are the issue, okay? And you find that they are one of the sources of these challenges that the young people are facing that will eventually lead to some mental health related conditions. So as parents, it's very important that you also get to know if we're having challenges, if we're having differences amongst us, amongst the spouses, how should we take care of that? There's a recent video that was being aired and through the social medias, we're able to see this, where two parents are engaging one another. And for me, I'll feel so sorry for these children because they've been exposed to some materials, some stuff that they're not supposed to be exposed to. And that tells you this will eventually lead to the manifestation of the mental health conditions that we're talking about amongst these young people. The other thing is whenever you find that there's an issue and you're not in a position to actually manage it, this is why my colleague Kiarie and I are here, get to seek support from professionals, people who are able to work out with these young people. And out here we have so many, children and adolescent counselors who are well capable of managing some of these issues, being able to help them, come out. Like with my colleague, I'm happy when you get to engage the young man, the young teenager who had issues with masturbation. Remember, for them, they found it a challenge to engage with their parents. But since they felt safe with their counselor, then they're able to open up and we're able to support them in the very best way. So there are many ways. One of them is creating awareness, getting to understand what are the causes, what are these mental health issues, also working on ourselves, because I always say that you can never share from an empty cup. So first, get to work on yourself as a parent, okay? And when you're sober enough, when you're when you have sorted your mental health, then you'll be better placed to actually support your child in the best way possible. If not the case, then seek support from a professional counselor.
I like that. He said almost everything at a go, and he's added to your point. I'm just going to add, be friends with your child, know your child, and work on yourself. All right. Now, as we're closing, I just want to give you both, a chance to tell us where we can find you, because this is a conversation we cannot finish today. I hope my producer can plan a follow-up session with you guys again, so we can continue with this conversation. But Dr. where can we find you? Somebody's watching and they're asking, how can they reach you to get help? Yeah.
I work in Meridian.
Your mic.
Okay.
Sorry, sir.
Sorry, I forgot. I work in Meridian Equator Hospital. I'm a counseling psychologist, and I will share my number after this, so that now if by any chance there is somebody want to get...
Oh, you can share it now?
Yes, my number is 07 14 17 35 45.
All
Yes,
right.
that's Kiarie.
All right. Thank you so much for gracing our studios and for creating your time to, of course, create a better world for our young ones. And, of course, your colleague, I always call you Dr. as much as a psychologist, Kagondu Jr. How can people reach you again?
First of all, Dorice, I'm so happy that I have Kiarie with me on set, because there are very few of us, very few men who are practicing, the stereotyping that we have regarding mental health, they say men are enjoying historia emotions, so we don't have so many of them in it. Oh, yeah. So having him on set, it is a plus. So we can interact through the social media pages. I work with Ankey Africa, so Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, even on the YouTube, we can find Ankey Africa. If not, then Kagondu Junior. Junior is JNR. If you want to call, 0720 333 993. 0720 333 993.
That is beautiful, and thank you so much, gentlemen, for gracing the studio and for bringing out the stereotype that men are junkies in Maneno. So thank you for, this gender sports session where people have seen men understand and they care, even about children. People say fathers are absent. I'm glad to see that men understand what children need and when they need it. Have a lovely day. Please do come again when we schedule another session.
Thank you so much.
All right. So that's it for the lounge, but I'm coming in to give you a few remarks as we close this particular show. Good morning.